They say, "Show me your friends, and I'll tell you who you are." But maybe it's not that simple. Maybe the people around you don't reflect your identity. They expose your insecurities. Because if you really look closely, we don't choose our friends based on who's right for us. We choose them based on who feels safe. And safe doesn't always mean healthy. Think about it. How often do you keep people around who make your flaws feel comfortable? The ones who never question your patterns, never challenge your moods, or never make you rethink the way you see yourself. Psychologists call this affective validation, our tendency to seek people who confirm the emotions we already feel, even when those emotions are toxic. That's why anxious people often end up with other anxious people. It's not because they plan it that way. It's because they share a familiar rhythm of fear and reassurance. And familiarity feels like safety. We tell ourselves it's connection. But maybe it's just comfort. Comfort with our own dysfunction. Sometimes, the people we call friends aren't chosen because they lift us up. They're chosen because they don't make us look too closely at ourselves. They allow our shadows to breathe without judgment. They keep us from changing too fast. And maybe, deep down, that's exactly what we want. Our brains reward comfort. When we're surrounded by people who validate us, our dopamine spikes. We feel seen. We feel understood. It's biological. We're wired to belong. But the problem is, belonging can slowly turn into imitation. Without realizing it, you start to mirror the people you spend the most time with. Their words, their tone, even their moral compass. You absorb it, not because you're weak, but because your mind mistakes similarity for safety. That's why people start to sound alike, dress alike, even laugh alike. It's not coincidence. It's survival. The brain's reward system celebrates conformity as if it were peace. So the friends you choose don't just reflect who you are. They quietly sculpt you. They build your vocabulary, your emotions, and your worldview, one subtle mimic at a time. Let me tell you a story. Two people meet at work. They click instantly. They both have sharp humor, cynical takes, and a way of turning frustration into wit. They start hanging out more. Soon, sarcasm becomes their language. Every chat turns into a shared complaint about the world or the people in it. At first, it feels like honesty, like they finally found someone who gets it. But over time, that honesty turns sour. Negativity becomes a routine. Criticism becomes intimacy. And slowly, one of them realizes the friendship didn't reflect their worldview. It created it. They were never naturally cynical. They just grew into it together. And when one of them tries to change, to be kinder, more hopeful, the connection feels off. It's like trying to breathe in a room that only knows stale air. We don't talk about this enough. How friendships can be both medicine and poison. How they can heal you or harden you, depending on what part of you they keep alive. Choosing a friend feels voluntary, but it's often filtered through invisible biases we rarely see. We prefer people who look like us, think like us, or react like us. That's similarity bias. We trust those who agree with us. That's reciprocity illusion. And we admire people who represent who we wish we were. That's projection bias. Each of these quietly dictates who we allow close. Not because of truth, but because of comfort. We don't choose people. We choose patterns. And those patterns repeat until they define us. That's why so many people end up stuck in emotional loops disguised as relationships. They call it friendship, but it's really just shared avoidance. Two people choosing not to outgrow the same fear. We don't only seek friends for love or belonging. We seek them for control. Friends who make us feel too small, too real, or too accountable, we quietly distance ourselves from them. They threaten our fragile self-image. We crave honesty, but only in doses that don't sting too hard. We crave authenticity, but only if it doesn't expose the parts of ourselves we still lie about. So we end up with people who let us hide and call it loyalty. We end up with friends who keep us from falling apart, but also from growing. We confuse comfort with connection and validation with love. It's not that people don't care. It's that real care often feels uncomfortable. The kind of friend who tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, they're rare. And when they appear, most people push them away. Because growth hurts, and comfort feels easier. So maybe the question isn't, who are my friends? Maybe it's, what are my friendships protecting me from? Are they keeping me stable or keeping me small? Do they challenge me or sedate me? Do they reflect who I am or the person I've stopped trying to become? If the people you surround yourself with reveal your weakness, then the mirror of friendship is more honest than any self-help book you'll ever read. Because the people closest to you don't just know you, they maintain you. They reinforce the parts of you that you keep repeating. And whether that's your strength or your downfall depends on one thing: the courage to look at who you've chosen and ask why. Your friends are the reflection of the self you secretly tolerate. Not the one you wish to be, but the one you've decided is enough. And maybe that's why some friendships fade when you grow. Not because they were fake, but because they were only meant to survive the version of you that no longer exists. So, next time you look at the people around you, don't just ask who's loyal. Ask who's keeping you honest. Ask who forces you to evolve, even when it's uncomfortable. Because anyone can make you feel loved, but only the rare ones make you confront yourself. And that's the kind of friendship that doesn't reflect weakness. It reveals your strength. And that's a wrap, my dear friends. Thanks for hanging out with me. Until next time, stay awesome.